Hi, welcome to Jesus RX. It's the best pharmacy I've ever worked at. My name is Eva Popek, and I was a pharmacist for over 23 years. I loved helping people with medication management. There seemed to be a medication for every need. But was there? What about a person's deepest need? Can that be found at the pharmacy? Welcome back to the Jesus RX Prescription for Life podcast. I'm going to do something I don't normally do in the podcast, and that is go straight from the Jesus RX Prescription for Life workbook and go over the first 5 days in the prescription for fear. We started talking about fear last week on how is it truly a liar? Is it good? Is it bad? And as we go along, we will see the right way to fear, the right things to fear, and, not to become anxious about things. That's the type of fear we don't want. And there's reasons that we don't want it because it doesn't allow us to move forward, but also because when we know the promises of God, a lot of the fear in life should dissipate. It should go the more we believe in his word and what he says and know that it is true. So in chapter 6, Prescription for Fear, we start with fear is a funny thing. Responses to fear can vary widely from person to person. Many of the things I feared in my life, I'm talking really feared, never came to be or were never even true. And you may be doing this 30-day prescription because you're tired of suffering the negative effects fear has brought to your life. This medication, God's Word, is going to help you see how to overcome the negative effects of fear. You will also gain tools to manage fear and be able to tell when it can be healthy and who or what should be feared. So you may have accomplished things in your life, but had fear hanging over your head the entire time. How much sweeter your life will be if you move forward without that feeling. So let's get started. Don't be afraid, okay? Day 1. An anxious heart weighs a man down, but a kind word cheers him up. Proverbs 12:25. And what are we told an anxious heart does? Did you remember what we just said? It weighs a man down. And what does a kind word do? It says right there, but a kind word cheers him up. And so can you relate to having an anxious heart when you were afraid about something? And does it make you feel apprehensive or stuck, weighed down? And you just have to answer that for yourself, yes or no. And this is, like I said, going through the workbook. This just gives you a little taste of what you would be doing. Day 2, for you did not receive a spirit that makes you a slave again to fear, but you received the spirit of sonship. And by him we cry, Abba, Father. And that's Romans 8, 15, and 16. So if you have received the gift of God, and we have in the Jesus RX Prescription for Life workbook, a note from the pharmacist that tells you how to receive that gift, how to become a part of God's family. And so if you received the spirit of sonship, that's what you did. You did not receive a spirit that makes you a slave again to what? It says that makes you a slave again to fear. So I ask you to please write that answer out 3 more times. Fear, fear, fear. Because of the spirit of sonship and because of Jesus, we can cry out and call God what? Abba, Father. So the answer, it did not, you received the spirit of sonship, so you did not receive a spirit that makes you a slave to fear. So again, this was just a piece of day 2 if you were working through the 30 days, and you should be meditating and thinking about that all day long. That when you belong to the Lord, you are his. You have become, you have been given a spirit of sonship to be part of that family, and we can cry, Abba, Father. You are now his daughter, his son, if you're a man listening to this, and you no longer are a slave to fear. It tells you that. You are not a slave to fear. Each day, like that would have taken you a whole, minute or 2, right? And then you can write the verse out, carry it with you, and think about that. you're not a slave to fear when you belong to the Lord. And day 3, for God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline. And that's in 2 Timothy. So what are we told God did not give us? A spirit of timidity, being timid, being a little afraid of things. And what has God given us? A spirit of power, not just power, of love and of self-discipline. These are the things we have been given. Not to be afraid, but we've got power from on high to get things accomplished. Power on high to speak what God would have us speak, when he would have us speak in truth, but in love. We just are going to be full of love, not fear. And, I think of a dog. I used to do rescues. I'm trying to get back into that. But even the dogs that get adopted, sometimes they are so timid. They are so afraid. And what does it take? It takes that belonging, knowing they belong to a family, knowing that they're loved. And then pretty soon they get pretty powerful and they start doing, sometimes these pups do some not real nice things, like getting in the trash or getting more brave to get food off the counter, just certain things. So they're no longer timid and afraid to just live life the way a dog might live life, rolling in the dirt, chasing other dogs. Just dogs do a lot of things that sometimes we go, no, chasing other little rodents and stuff. But you know what? They're no longer afraid. And when you become a part of God's family, like I said, in day 2, see it builds, then now you don't have a spirit of fear, a spirit of timidity, but that of power, love, and self-discipline. Let's go to day 4. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Now, does this tell us to cast some of our anxiety on Christ? No, what did it say? Cast all your anxiety on him. All. And why should you cast all your anxiety on him? Because he cares for you. And so you can come to him with all your fears. Give it to him. Cast it out. Like I think of fishing, when you cast that line, you toss it out. I was never a big fisher person, say fisherman, but I didn't fish much throughout my life. But I remember doing some fly fishing, and you had to cast that line out a certain way. You'd hold it back and then throw it out. And then you couldn't see what was below that water anymore. And you just cast those things onto the Lord and let him grab it like that fish grabbing that bait. Lord, take this. Don't let it be bait from the enemy in your life. Fear. Give it to the Lord. He'll take the bait. He knows what to do with that. But if we take the bait, what does the enemy try to do? Kill, steal, and destroy. Okay, so I'm going to do one more, day 5. When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought joy to my soul. So when anxiety is great within you and God's consolation comes, what will it bring to your soul? Joy. We have a prescription for joy in the Jesus Works Prescription for Life workbook. We did cover that, I believe. But, I'd like you to think about what we just said and write out or think about a time when God's consolation came to you and you experienced that joy. You might have been fearful about something, but then he came and he brought the peace. We have a prescription for peace upon you. And write that out and remember those times. He is faithful and he will come and remove that fear from things of this world, fear that the enemy wants to put on you to stop you from moving forward with the Lord. So I want to end with that and let you know I may continue next episode. This one's really short, I know, with day 6 through 10. But this, again, is just to show you a little taste of what you will get when you do the Jesus Prescription for Life workbook. I'm talking through a lot of it, and I hope that at some point I might do Bible studies off of those and have them live type sessions for you to interact, for you to answer, for you to help me grow, help all of us grow one another when we get together and talk about his word. So thank you. Go out there and live without fear, but you'll learn more about the tools to do that through the Prescription for Life, Jesus RX. Prescription for Fear. Enjoy. I want to thank you so much for joining in today, because I know sometimes allowing God to change our minds and hearts in difficult situations isn't always easy, but it will allow us to sometimes think differently about a situation, and that in turn may help us to act differently towards that situation in a positive way. Remember, our mission here is to lead you first and foremost to the great physician for all of life's circumstances through his word. We do not deny that physical medication plays a part while we're on this earth. I know that I want positive changes, and I know you do too. I do want to just state that anything you've heard from me or any of my guests is not intended to replace any of the medical advice that you're receiving. Always check with your doctor before stopping any medication or any changes. Now, for sure, you can add spiritual medication to any regimen that you're on. And just don't be surprised if that spiritual medication heals and changes you in ways you never, ever imagined. Because all things are possible with God. So if you could be so kind as to leave a review about anything that may have helped you today, or if you want to share it with someone that you're just thinking so much about and loving that you know it could help them, please let them know about this podcast. I would really appreciate it, because I know the more of this medicine that we can dispense and get out into this world, the better off we'll all be. So until next time, stay healthy and stay in God's Word.